So good morning. This is an overview of person-centered thinking and charting the life course. Some of the resources and tools cross over into both approaches. So that's why you see both headings. My name is Barb Seferis. I'll share a little bit more about me. I want to thank our Family Resource Network of Ohio staff. Tracy Manns is on, and she will be, she has typed in chat the link to the handouts. Please get them, and I think they will be useful in your work. Erica is not on today, but she does things like helps us get the word out, makes the flyers, and so thank you, Tracy. And Erica's on vacation, so we'll thank Erica. And if you have any questions, please type in chat. This is a 3-hour session. We will take a formal break somewhere midway, but it is 3 hours. So if you want the CEUs, you need to participate. We would prefer that you keep your camera on, just as if you were in a room, you would be sitting there and we would be seeing you. So if you can do that. And do we have, oh, okay. Don't worry, Ashley. The poll popped up when you signed in, and if you didn't see it, it's okay, don't worry. But we appreciate it. It's just to find out who's on the call. Tracy, do you have the results so I can see like who is here? Okay, so SSA is great. Oh, all life stages. Thank you. That's great. And you have heard of it, but most of you have heard of Charting the Life course, but not used any of the tools. Several of you have used 1 or 2 of the tools. Thank you. That's great. Appreciate it. That helps me a lot. So you work with people across the lifespan, which is typically the work of an SSA. Since most of you are SSAs, you do work with anybody over the age of 3 and anyone who's on a waiver. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. A little bit about me. I am from the, excuse me, I live in Lake County, so I live about half an hour, 45 minutes northeast of Cleveland. I retired from the Cuyahoga County Board. I worked there for 36 years. My background and training, I was a licensed speech language pathologist. So I have worked in a variety of schools, county board schools, public schools, Catholic schools, Montessori school. I supported people in their residential settings, in employment, and also in day program. I was also an SSA, and worked in a variety of administrative roles. But what really sparked my passion is I am a sibling. You can see my youngest brother, Nick, on Santa's lap. He was diagnosed when he was 6 months old with a developmental disability, cerebral palsy. I was 4 going into kindergarten, and we had home-based services from a private agency in the Cleveland area. My middle brother, Jim, who's the one that's also not happy to see Santa, was in an accident in his 30s, and it affected his ability to earn a living and get through his days without help. And so I had one brother with a developmental disability and one brother with an acquired disability. All of our presentations on Charting the Life course are provided by the Family Resource Network of Ohio. We are Ohio's official hub for Charting the Life course. So if you want more information about Charting the Life course, please feel free to sign up on our website, frnohio.org, and you will receive all the notifications and flyers about different presentations that we make. And also, like our Facebook, we post stories of actual use, how people with lived experience, families, and professionals across service systems, across life stages are using Charting the Life course to support and empower families. And our funding is provided by DODD, the Department of Developmental Disabilities, and the Department of Education and Workforce. Again, oh, oh, thank you, Pedro. Thank you so much. I love the picture too. And the story behind that is, well, I'll get to it later in the presentation, but thank you, Pedro. That's one of my favorite pictures. You have 7 handouts. So I hope you do click on the link in chat. And again, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in chat. Rebecca, so sorry. Yeah, we appreciate the difficulties with technology, but thank you for letting us know, those of you that have typed in chat. If you have a question, please type in chat anytime you have it. Tracy will monitor and she'll let me know, and either she'll respond or she will unmute and share with me. So not a problem. A little bit about the format of today. I'm going to give you an overview. So please, this is just an overview. I cannot give you everything in 3 hours. We are going to put you in breakout rooms so you get a little bit of practice. And like I said, there will be a formal break somewhere around 10:30, and it will depend on where we are content-wise. So I will ask you about whether it's a good time, etc. So let me just give you a little bit of a background about what's going to happen during the session. I'm going to introduce you to the principles and framework of Charting the Life course. I'm going to introduce you to some of the common tools of Charting the Life course, and common tools because this is what we share with people with lived experience or self-advocates, but it's also they're also the ones that we typically share with families, because we feel they are the ones that can really support and empower families to be part of the planning and implementation process. And we want to develop common language of everybody using Charting the Life course. So professionals, families, people with lived experience. Charting the Life course is a framework. On the left side of the screen, you see icons. We try in Charting the Life course to use icons or visual symbols, as well as common understandable language. It is a person-centered approach, and we're all mandated to be person-centered. And it was developed by and for people with disabilities and their families. On the right, you see a map of the United States. We have a national community of practice on supporting families. The map is not updated. I believe there are now 26 states, including excuse me, including Ohio, which you see in lilac. We are part of a national community of practice that is hosted by the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where Charting the Life course was developed, and the National Association of State Directors of DD Services, so NASDs. So what is that? So why is that important? Because we get to hear from other people in states all across the country what they're doing, how they're implementing Charting the Life course, how they're using Charting the Life course to support and empower families. And we get to share what we're doing in Ohio. So it's a great opportunity to learn. And I always think it's important to know what's going on elsewhere, not just what we're doing in Ohio, because we can learn from others. In Ohio, we have our own community of practice, and we meet quarterly on Zoom. A community of practice is a group of people that are passionate about something. It could be anything. It could be math, it could be literacy, it could be supporting and empowering families. And they realize that they need to learn more, and they need to actually implement. And so we meet as a community of practice to share and hear from others what they're doing in Ohio, because we know that nobody knows it all, and we all learn with and from each other. So our next meeting is in January of next year. And we hope you can join us. And we also hope that you will share what you are doing. We have a trajectory in Ohio for supporting and empowering people and families and using Charting the Life course. I like to show it on a trajectory, and a trajectory is one of the tools that we use in Charting the Life course. It has two arrows, one going up towards what we want, one going down towards what we don't want. So, okay. Oh, I see. Oh, man. I am so sorry you're having difficulties. I guess this is just not a good day for tech. But we want people and families to use Charting the Life course. So please hear that emphasis. We want people and families to come to their teams, to their families, and share with them the information that they have organized and recorded on the Charting the Life course tools. So it's not just you using it in your work, but how are you supporting families to understand what they are, use them, and come to their team? We want professionals to value and use the information and also use the tools to help people plan, problem solve, brainstorm. And we want to have common language. So I've been involved in the DD system as a family member and as a professional for over 45 years. As a family member for 60, oh gosh, I'm going to be very depressed, over 65 years. And I can tell you that the language changes every couple of years, and we would go, is that the same as when we used to say this? We want to build a common understandable language and get rid of all the jargon that we keep changing. So, and we want to do that using Charting the Life course. So in chat, take a minute and tell me what you hope to hear today. What do you hope to hear during this 3-hour session? And I'll give you a minute because I want to make sure that I either tell you, yes, I will be covering that, or this is what I'll be doing. So type in chat why you joined this session.
While they're typing, I just would like everybody to know that since people were having trouble with technology today, I did drop the handouts into the chat for you to use.
Nice. Thank you, Tracy. I know this is like typically this doesn't happen. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
This hasn't happened since the beginning of the pandemic. We all first went virtual.
That's right. That's right. So creative ways to use the tools with transition aged youth. Oh, what a great group. What a great group to focus on. Oh, Jill, you're using one-page descriptions on your clients. You're an SSA, and tips. Oh, you'll hear tips on how to do it. Learn about it. Penny, thank you so much. I'll wait for another minute or so. One-page descriptions for end-of-life support. Oh, Ashley, absolutely. Absolutely. They can be written for any purpose. And obviously, if we're talking about end of life, it's going to be a little different. Families to use the tools and make them their own tools. Yes, great, Pedro. More creative with individuals. Hi, Kim. How to get people to open up more about themselves by using the tools, okay? And I'm just going to say something first, and that is some families may have gone through some of our sessions and they may come to the meetings with the tools. But if they don't, the way to get families to use them is for you to actually use them as you're having conversation with people and show them you know, write on them as you're having your conversations, and show families or self-advocates, this is what I heard you say. The last thing we want to do is start sending forms to families and saying, here, fill this out, because they won't understand, they won't know. And now it becomes a task, and it's not something that will be helpful. Oh, rejoining the field. You don't have any experience with the new state plan? I'll be working with transition age youth. Okay, so a lot of the language that I will share about charting the life course will look familiar to you in the OISP. What I hope to do in this session today is give you tools and resources to use to have the conversations with people so that you can put that information in the OISP. Oh, I love that there's so many people working with transition youth. Thank you, everybody. That's great. This is very helpful. I appreciate your responses. So charting the life course has a core concept. What drives us? Our why. And our why is we want everybody, all people and families, and note, it doesn't say all people with disabilities. So I've seen people use the resources and tools on their own with their own family members who do not have a disability. Somebody asked about end of life, and I'll try to remember pointing out some tips as we go through the information. But we want everybody to have the right to live, love, work, play, learn, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. As people define community, their own community. We want everybody to have a good life. So we want people supported to have that civil right of self-determination, which is control over decisions affecting your life. We believe everybody is interdependent, not independent. So I know a lot of the language is in plans, especially IEPs, are, you know, we want people to be independent, but the reality is none of us are. That's why we work. We work to get money to buy the things that we need that we cannot provide for ourselves. And so I think it is such a disservice to people and families to say you need to be independent when none of us are. We want people to be productive and included in their community. But in order for that to happen, we want families to be supported so that they can take care of their loved ones, okay? And the reality is that most people in Ohio receive support from their families. I show the Rehab Act of 1973, which is 50 years old. This is the first time that disability is I'm laughing because somebody's running to get the handouts. Okay, I love it. That disability was recognized in federal law 50 years ago. This is the law that families use to fight for their children to be educated in public school with their brothers and sisters and not be segregated. So look at the rights. Disability is a natural part of the human experience. We want people to live independently. We want people to enjoy that self-determination, which is a civil right, which is different than making choices. You all made a choice to attend today. However, exercising your civil right of self-determination probably means that you are making decisions at a higher level that impact your life, where you live, what you do during the day, who you spend time with, what kind of, who you're going to pay to help you. So choices are the bare minimum, but self-determination is having control over decisions affecting your life. Whatever your role is, whether you are an SSA, whether you are a family member, there are overall outcomes in charting the life course in person-centered thinking, which is mandated in rule, and in Medicaid guidance. And the reason I list Medicaid guidance is because Medicaid pays for most of the services that people and families receive: waiver services, services from the county board, medical services if they have a Medicaid card. And this is an expectation. And it's also in a higher rule. Person-centered thinking, self-determination, some of the other language important too have probably been in Ohio rule since the beginning of the 2000s, so probably 20 years. Whatever system you work in, whatever system you receive support from, the overall outcomes is that people and families feel supported. They feel like they're getting help. They feel empowered. They have control. So we want to make sure we give people the tools and the resources to increase their control and power. All of these funding streams, rules, laws say that people need to be seen as valued members of their community, and that means that they share their gifts and that they have the life they value, or they have a quality of life across domains. Whatever system you work in, as a speech pathologist, I had to assess, I had to plan, I had to implement that plan, I had to review it. So if there are any therapists on the call, this is not just for SSAs, this is what we all do. I had to help family find resources and services like technology. I had to either authorize or recommend funding. I had to help them problem solve, and I had to help be part of the team and facilitate, communicate, and collaborate. This is something we all do, whether we're a family member or a paid professional. Charting the Life course is about having different conversations. It's about a different way of thinking. We encourage people to have high expectations. So we would never say to somebody, no, you can't. But let's find out why that's important to you. Let's see what we can do. And I was working with someone in another state, and he has his own small business. Actually, he has two small businesses, and they aren't full-time. He works a couple of days on one job and a couple of days on his other business. And instead of saying, no, you can't be your own business owner, the team worked with him to say, so what do you want to do? What can you do? And he works with animals. And how can we help you do that? But in order to know what we want, we have to have different experiences. So how do you know you like sushi if you never had it? How do you know what kind of job you may want to do if you've never had any experiences? And those of you working with transition youth, one of the things that we talk with educators about is, how are you helping people even learn about different jobs? And with younger children, are we even asking them the question we ask every child, and that is, what do you want to be when you grow up? So we can learn what are the interests of that child. How can we provide them with experiences? So think about that. How are you providing people with experiences and opportunities? And then we want people to have supports not only from the system, but we'll talk about, there are 5 areas that we need to look at. So we're not just talking about tools. This isn't a program. You don't do Charting the Life course with someone. And a lot of people say, yes, but I work with people who are nonverbal. Yes, but I work with people who have behavior issues. Charting the Life course is an approach. It is a framework. It works for anyone, regardless of age or ability. There are no yes buts. And as with any person-centered approach, we get information about the person from their words and their actions. and from the people who know them well. So if you say to me, but I work with babies, they can't tell me what's important to them. No, but their parents can. They're at that point, we're looking at the perspective of the family. I work with people who don't use words to communicate. They don't use signs, they don't write, they don't use symbols. Okay, but their actions tell people in their life what they like, what they don't like, what they want, what they don't want. Just a reminder, I was a licensed speech pathologist for 45 years. I worked for Cuyahoga County. When I first started working for Cuyahoga County, we had 3 state institutions in our county. I worked with those people that lived there. A lot of them did not use words. And I never met one who the people who knew them could not say to me what they wanted, what they didn't want, what they liked, what they didn't like, what made a good day, what made a bad day. So there are no yes buts. We have 8 principles in Charting the Life course. First of all, you can use this with all people. I've worked with people who have used the principles and tools with their aging parents who do not have disabilities. Also, their aging parents who may be living with Alzheimer's and cannot speak. We recognize and value the role of the family, and that if anything happens to anyone in that family, it impacts the whole family, and that a family goes through cycles. So think about what happens to a family when someone loses their job, or when, as an SSA, when an older sibling went away to college and they had provided a lot of that daily support. All of a sudden, that family system changed and their needs changed. Or when a parent, the caregiver, became ill. We talk about life stages, and you can see moving from infancy with the little baby all the way up to aging, and how important it is to have a vision of a good life. We recognize that it's important to have outcomes. What is a good life? Not what goals do I have, but what is a good life? What is my vision of a good life? And do I have experiences? We talk about 6 life domains, which you will see on the OISP. And then on the OISP, there's also a section for communication. We talk about 3 buckets of support, that we want to get supports in 5 areas of the integrated support star. And we want people and families involved in policy and system change, not just to be told about them, but to actually be part of the discussion and development. We recognize that all people, okay, all right, I see Susan, thank you for your note. I see that one of the things that we believe is all people exist within the context of family, and that family can be biological or chosen. So I happen to be Greek American. I will tell you that I call people aunt and uncle. They are not related to me, but they are considered family. So whatever family means to that person is what we believe. When we ask people about their family, we're asking them about who they identify as family. And it's not dependent on how close someone lives to them. As many of you who have been in the field for a while, you may know that their closest family member that they confide in and they want to be involved in discussions may live out of state. So it's not about geography, it's about close in your heart. We focus on the person, but we do not exclude the family. We have a holistic approach, so it's not the family versus the person. And there's a reason for that. And in Ohio, and I don't have the statistics, I thought I had it, we know that 65% of people with developmental disabilities live with family. Another 18 or 19% receive support, live with one other person and receive support from family. And only about 17%, I hope my math is right, are actually in settings where there is 24-hour care 7 days a week. So ICFs, intermediate care facilities, maybe nursing homes, maybe group homes that have 24/7 staff. So we know that most people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Ohio receive support from families. We also know that if those families did not provide that support, the system could not. The system could not afford. So we need to have that holistic approach. And in Charting the Life course, we value the family's perspective as well as the person's perspective. As a sibling, I would be remiss if I didn't also talk about the role of siblings, and that often we consider ourselves the club sandwich generation because we may be supporting our brothers and sisters. We may have children of our own, but we also may be providing support to aging parents. There is a closed Facebook group. If you work with adults who are siblings, there is a way for them to connect with other adults who are siblings across the world. And that is a closed Facebook group called SibNet. It is closed because only siblings can join. And the comments and the conversation are not open to anyone that has access to Facebook. So please share that resource. In Charting the Life course, we also recognize that there are reciprocal roles that people give and they receive, all people. So people with disabilities give and they receive. We talk about two major areas of roles. One is caring about, and you see the icon is a heart. So that is emotional support. You see that, you know, who gives you affection? Who knows those stories about your life? Who's made a lifetime commitment? But who do you show affection to? Who do you know about? And who have you made a lifetime commitment to? So caring about are the emotional supports. Caring for, you see it's a shield. Sometimes it's represented by a rooftop. And those are the physical supports, providing that day-to-day care, providing financial support, helping the person be included and advocating. So we look at reciprocity. The person gives, they care about, but also people care about them. The person cares for, and people care for them. Another concept we talk about is these 3 buckets of support. And this is, think about these buckets as being buckets of needs. And as professionals, how do we fill the buckets? How do we provide the support? So they represent needs and also supports. But let's just take an example of, let's take planning a vacation. When we plan a vacation, we have needs. We want to get information. What do I want to do on vacation? Is it a sightseeing vacation? Is it a relaxing vacation? What do I want to do on vacation? That information. And then we go over to the kind of mustard colored bucket on the right. So what are the goods and services that can help me plan this vacation? Am I going to look at flights? Am I going to rent a car? Am I going to drive? Do I need a GPS? Am I going to look at Airbnbs? camping. So any goods and services that help you work towards that outcome. And then in the middle, connecting and networking. So, you know, I always laugh when I check Facebook because there's always somebody who says, has anybody ever gone here? What did you like? What are the highlights? What's a good restaurant? Or you check TripAdvisor, or you talk to friends who have traveled wherever you want to go and say, you know, well, what's good there? What did you enjoy? What should I really do? What should I stay away from? So think about, we all have these needs no matter what we're deciding in our life. But as professionals, how are we filling those buckets? So every time we meet with people or families, are we providing them information? Are we helping them find goods and services that will help them? Not just what's paid for by the service system. And then are we helping them connect with other people? On the bottom, I have a website, but you just need to go to dodd.ohio.gov. And on the state website, there is there are like tabs, and it says for families. And families have a way to connect with other families in Ohio. So tell them about that. They can join some closed Facebook groups. And families can tell families things that you can't as an SSA. A family can and has posted, what do you know about this provider? You can't say they're good, they're bad, don't. But other families can say they've been real responsive or they haven't. So help families connect with others or let them know about some ways on social media that, you know, almost every disability label has some kind of a social media presence, whether it's cerebral palsy or autism or Down syndrome or traumatic brain injury. There are lots and lots and lots of groups. We tend to think of, well, we have meetings, but families don't show up. Yeah, they may be inconvenient, you know. So I want you to think about the power of the words that we use. You know, we talk about being person-centered, but what kind of language do we use when we talk about people? Because the language we use really conveys our values and beliefs. The words that we use, do we talk about people's deficits or their qualities? Do we talk about people being needy or contributing? You know, I told you I grew up in a Greek American culture, and when people would see my brother Nick in a wheelchair, the word they used to describe him in Greek, and you know, there isn't always a word for word translation for any of you that are bilingual. You know, we struggle with this. How do I explain this in English? But the word, the word that they use translates kind of in English to the pitiful one. And so what did that tell us as a family of how people perceive Nick? He was pitiful, you know, and you poor family, you have a pitiful son or brother. And that always bothered me, you know, and even to this day, when I talk to friends who are, you know, speak Greek, I'm like, you know, that word is pretty demeaning. And they're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to say? And I said, just their name. So, you know, how do we talk about people? And one mother told me that after she attended one of my series for families, she was struck by my insistence that we don't say people need to be independent, but that they're interdependent. And she shared that her son, who was in transition, that transition age, he was an older teenager, 17 maybe. Every time in his IEP, he would just hang his head when they would say, what do you want to do? What are your goals? You need to be more independent. And he would hang his head. And she said he never talks at his IEP meeting. And she said, oh my gosh, we've always told him he needs to be independent and he won't talk. And so she talked to her husband and said, I attended this session with this lady named Barb, and she said, no one's independent. You and I aren't independent. We don't grow our food. We didn't build our house. We don't make our clothes. We work to get the money. And they had their son, they called their son in and said, we want to talk to you. We've been saying to you, you need to be independent. And we're sorry that we have said that to you, that none of us are independent. And she said he was hanging his head and he looked up at her and he said, Mom, I thought you wouldn't love me if I wasn't independent. You can just imagine how she felt. You can just imagine how I felt when she shared this. And I thought, what are we doing to people? We're making them feel less than worthy. So do we talk about their needs or do we talk about how to support them? And what words can we use to communicate the value of people? So the most common Charting the Life course tool is the portfolio. It is made up of 3 separate tools, and I'm going to go through each one. I don't care what age group you work with. The information, the concepts are the same across the lifespan, across disability, across ability. So the first one, the one that I feel is where you should start, is the one-page person-centered description. You see 2 possible templates. The one on the left has 3 sections. The one on the right has 3 sections plus a section for a photo, that blank space top right. The one page is the way that we can talk about people in a human-centric way. We do not talk about their disabilities on the one page. And this one-page person-centered description is not the same as the intro page on the OISP. And you'll see the difference. On the one page, there are the 3 sections plus the photo, which I really feel you should put on the one page if the person is agreeable. The 3 sections, and I'm going to go through each one. But the one page is one page. Okay, most of the documents that talk about people, their IEP, their ISP, can be anywhere from 8 to 80 pages long. Who's going to read it? Everyone will read one page. Now, I did a session last week, and one of the people typed in chat, why don't you do it electronically? And my immediate response is that a lot of people with lived experience and a lot of do not have the technology to share it digitally. But also, families have found that if they make paper copies, whenever they're going into a new environment, a doctor's appointment, and a therapist's appointment, they're taking their kid to soccer practice, they can hand the piece of paper and whoever receives it has it forever. Okay, so yes, it's old technology, but it's easier to share. It's easier to make sure people have it to look at it and refer back to it. I tell people use a Word doc. Don't even use the template because it limits how much you can type. But the first section is like an admire. And under this section, we want to know people's qualities, not what they do. So most people with lived experience will tell you what they do. I'm in Special Olympics. Okay, that's great, but why? What do you like about Special Olympics? Why are you part of Special Olympics? And one woman told me that she had just participated in the state Special Olympics. And she said, Barb, I just was in Columbus. I won 3 medals, 2 gold, 1 silver. The silver was in an event I had never participated in before. And I won the silver medal, Barb. And so when I said, what do people like and admire about you? She said, I'm a Special Olympics athlete. And I said, you just told me you won 3 medals. I'm guessing you're competitive. You want to win. She goes, well, of course I do. I said, okay, that's your quality. Then she told me how she practiced for the 2 events that she typically competes in. I said, so you must be athletic, because you tell me you train and you practice. So we may have to help people identify their qualities. Most times when I ask people with lived experience, what are your qualities? The first word they'll say is nice. So I want you in chat to type, what are 1 or 2 qualities that people like and admire about you? Maybe your family, maybe your coworkers. So talk about your qualities. Not that you're a good staff member or that you're a good dad or a good mom, but what do people love about you? And when I ask families, I ask them, what do you love about your loved one? So type in chat, what do people like about you? What are your qualities? And I gave you a whole list. These are from Dr. Google. So it's not like honest, good listener, creative, thoughtful, dependable. Oh, you guys are awesome. Honest, good work ethic, willing to help others, helpful, good listener, warm-hearted, trusting, compassionate, funny, trustworthy. I love it. These are the words we want to help people identify about themselves. And if they cannot tell us, I've had people say, well, they told me they're in Special Olympics. I wrote down what they told me. You know what? Part of our role is to educate people and to empower them. So if they're telling us something that we're like, yeah, help them refine it. Help them understand what we're really looking for. And I will tell you, before COVID, I met with a group of self-advocates in another county. They had dinner. They met for dinner. And so we were at a restaurant in a private room, and I did this presentation, and I asked one of the women, I said, can you help me? I knew her personally. And she said, sure, Barb. And I said, can I ask people what they like about you? And she said, sure, Barb. And so I had her stand in front of me, her back to my front, and said, what do y'all like about her? And everybody in the room, there probably were 15 self-advocates and 15 family members or staff who had brought them. And everybody said, I know. And everybody used the same word. She's nice. I said, okay, what else? And they, I know, she's nice. Okay. So I said, you're a Project STIR trainer. And she goes, yeah, I am, Barb. And I said, so what's inside of you that made you want to be a Project STIR trainer? I want to help other people. You're helpful. Somebody told me she was the treasurer of their self-advocates group. I said, oh, you're trustworthy. You are responsible. And so then we started getting to the qualities. After I thanked her, I said, thank you so much for helping me and for helping us all, think about qualities. She sat down and somebody raised their hand and said, my turn, came up and stood in front of me and said, what do you like about me? And I had about, I would say almost half of the people stand up and say, it's my turn. And the group shared. At the end of the evening, some of the family members said, I've never seen my loved one smile so much. He just beamed when people were telling them. Jill has a great activity. They did a group exercise where they tape paper to someone's back and everybody goes around and writes things. And then a lot of us hung it up in our area. I have shared that teachers have told me they've done this with their students in their class, and they've done it on paper, and every student has a piece of paper with their name on it, and the students go around and write what they like about each other. And the teacher felt that helped create a culture of acceptance and helped reduce bullying because she set the environment to be responsive and recognizing people's value. I love that idea, Jill. That's great for team building too. The second section is what's important to me. Now, those of you that have been in the field, you know that important to has been in language in Ohio rule probably for 25 years. But important to those of you that work in education, we're not talking about preferences and interests. Okay, I like Diet Pop. I prefer Diet Coke to Diet Pepsi, but I really like Diet Dr. Pepper. And Tracy turned me on to Diet Dr. Pepper with cream soda or something like that. Anyway, which is awesome. But it's not important to me, because the things that are important to you are the things that have to be present in your life that help you feel comfortable and feel safe and feel valued. So important to is more than just preferences and interests. Think about in your life, we talk about important to being in 8 areas. So who are the people that are important to you? And type in chat. Don't say family and friends, because I don't know what that means. Are there rituals and routines that are important to you? Do you sit at the same place at for meals? Do you use the same toothpaste? Do you drink your coffee out of the same mug? Do you use a certain soap? We all have routines. And in our routines, getting up in the morning, getting ready, going to work, whatever, coming back home, going to bed, we have rituals. Think about what's important to you, things to do and places to go. So look at those 8 areas and type in chat what's important to you, that if it were missing, your quality of life would be impacted. Rhythm and pace. People that, some people tell me they're morning people. Some people tell me they're night people. Status and control. People with lived experience have told me status and control, having their own technology, their smartphone, their tablet, having their own key to their place, having their own money, having a job, things to have. When I you sit at the same place at staff meetings. I love it. And somebody was sitting there, and you were uncomfortable. I love it. When I'm on Zoom, I always have a water bottle in front of me. I always have my smartphone because I want to keep track of the time. I always carry a purse, and I'm sure that's a generational thing, but I've got to have my purse with me. So what are the things that are important to you? Meaningful time with your pets, walking, going outside, can't miss a day with my dogs. Okay. You have the same routine every morning. Okay. Before work to feed all your animals. And if you get off track, you're scrambling the rest of the morning. Yesterday, I was late for a meeting with Tracy. She texted me. I was like, oh, 2 minutes, I'll be right there. But I was late 3 times yesterday, and that is it is important to me to be early. So my whole routine of the day was caught off because I had unexpected things. Sitting in the same seat at church. Oh, Kim, I've had people say, you didn't come to church. And I was like, yes, I was there, because I sat in a different pew. Time alone to meditate. I love it. Coffee every morning. Have to have a drink all the time. Yes, yes, yes. Maintaining a routine to stay fit. Okay. Your husband and children, your bedtime routine, getting the kids to bed, taking a shower, laying down before 9. Absolutely. I had one person I supported who, I had to tell providers, you need to wake them up and you need to give them 15 minutes and then give them a warning. And then after 30 minutes, get him out of bed, because he had cerebral palsy. And he said, It takes time for my body to get ready for someone to touch it. And so that was a very important routine and ritual. Oh, Megan, you say something to your son. Oh, and I always, when I talk to my nieces or text them or see them in person, I always say something in Greek to them. And that is our ritual. So I absolutely thank you, everybody. Those are so important. So when we're asking people what's important to you, we're not asking them about what they like. We're asking them about what's so important that it has to be in their life, because it helps give them comfort, peace, satisfaction, happiness. Now, important too has been in Medicaid guidance. 15 years? Oh, Barbara, that's wrong. It's like close to 20 by now. And we've learned what's important to people by their words and their actions. On the Ohio ISP, on the introduction page, it also asks what's important for. But that's what other people say. And that's usually what's important for safety, health, and to be seen as a valued member of community. We don't include important for on the one page. Why? Because we want that information on the one page to be from the person. But let's talk about a valued member of the community. In order to be seen as a valued member of the community, people have to be able to share their gifts of their head, their heart, and their hands. So do you, as someone working with someone or someone who loves someone with a disability, do you know their gifts? I have a friend who lives in Southwest Ohio. She receives supports. She and I were having breakfast one day, and pre-COVID, as everything. And she had told me for years that she volunteered as part of her church on a mission trip. And I had never been on a mission trip. And when we were having breakfast, I said, have you gone on your mission trip yet? And she said, no, I go in a month or something like that. And I said, oh, I've never been on a mission trip. What do you do? And she said, oh, Barb, I paint. I said, what do you paint? What do you mean you paint? And she said, Barb, people she went to Haiti, I think. She said they don't live in houses, they live in cardboard boxes. So she said, we build. I said, what do you build? And she said, houses. And then she said, I paint. I said, what do you paint? And she said, the walls in the house, Barb. So I said, you're a builder. She said, no, I build. I said, you're a painter. She said, no, I paint. I said, okay, what else do you do? And she said, well, you know, sometimes we have to use equipment. And so if they're using the equipment, I take the little kids aside and I might tell them stories. I might play with them. I might tell them about Jesus. I said, oh, you're a storyteller. She said, no, I tell stories. I said, oh, okay, fine. I said, what else do you do? She said, Barb, wait. And she pulls out her smartphone and swipes and shows me pictures. And she said, Barb, I have a fundraiser at church. It's a pancake breakfast, and I made all the centerpieces, and they were beautiful. I said, oh, you're artistic. She said, no, I made these centerpieces. I said, you're a fundraiser. She said, no, I did a pancake breakfast. And I said, okay, what else? And she said, oh, Barb, I'm so excited. Every year, I take toys to the children. I said, cool. I said, can I ask you a question? Who pays for the toys? Does the church give you money? Oh, no. My sister helps me with the budget, and I save money, and then I buy toys. I said, whoa. She said, Barb, they don't have toys. I said, that's so cool. I said, you're a philanthropist. She said, what the blank is that? And I said, it's someone who uses their money to help other people. Do you notice the difference in my language? She told me what she did. I build, I paint, I tell stories, I made centerpieces, I had a pancake breakfast, and I buy toys. I talked about valued roles. You're a builder, you're a painter, you're a storyteller, you're a fundraiser, you're a philanthropist, you're an artist. Look at the difference in how the words convey value. I love it, Jill. She talks about, she knows somebody who knows everything about restaurants. And so she told the new SSA, if you want to know anything about where to eat, you need to, he's your guy. I love it. So now he's the food critic. I love it. I love it. So when we look at community, because we want people to be seen as valued members of their community, what is community? Think about your own community. Your community is not where you visit, and it's not a program. So, usually people tell me we go out in the community, we go to Walmart. Oh, wow, that's exciting. We go shopping. Oh, yeah, okay. We go to McDonald's. Woohoo. And we go to bowling. Okay, that tells me where you go, but where is your community? Your community is where you belong and where people miss you. Sociologists talk about the third place. Our first place is our home. Our second place is where we go every day, work, school, wherever. Our third place is where we go on a regular basis. We contribute and people expect to see us. So, what is your third place? Type it in chat. Do we know the third place of the people we support? Community is where you belong, not where you visit. And it's not a program. We've put community in front of all of our programs. Community living, community employment, community outing, community engagement. But community is not a program. The wood shop, ooh, yeah, the gym, absolutely, Shannon. Shannon, am I supposed to talk to you? If you want to talk to me, stay on at the end. All of a sudden I saw your name and I'm like, oh, you're on my to-do list. Your place of worship, absolutely. For my 90-some-year-old mother, until she could no longer go, it was the beauty shop where she had gone for 40-some years. And if she didn't show up, they called me. Where's your mother? Oh my God, I forgot to tell you we're out of town or whatever. Women's organization, the barn. So when you're working with people you support, find out where their community is. Where do they go to contribute? A lot of people have told me church, their sports teams, Special Olympics, and also karaoke night or the local bar, because that's where they meet their friends and they go every week on a route or every couple of weeks. I love it. Auctions. Uh-oh, that could be dangerous. So think about that. Where do people contribute their gifts? So important to the learning community for person-centered practices. Just a summary, it tells us that that's what the person tells us with their words and actions. That's what helps people feel satisfied, comforted, content, fulfilled, and happy. And it's detailed, not generic. If we're helping people have what's important to them in their life, them telling us friends and family is not enough. So when people have said, my family, I say, what about them? What is it that you want to do with your family, or what's important to you about your family? And people have said having quiet time with mom and dad, playing games, going out to friends, going out to dinner once a month with my girlfriends. We always pick a different restaurant. Okay, now I know. Especially if they need support. So there's 8 categories. Think about that. Please remember that this is individualized, so there's no checklist. This is to help you have those conversations with people. And when I ask about culture and identity, I tell people it's not just about the pronouns you want us to use, but is there anything else? And I share with them, I'm Greek American, so my culture is important to me. What does that mean? Well, it means the language. In fact, I got a message on my phone and it's in Greek. So it's like I had to laugh when it popped up. It's the language, it's the food, it's the it's the music, it's the dance, it's the traditions, the holiday traditions. But there's a culture that we may be part of as a group. But there's also the culture of one, your own personal culture. My identity is I am a person-centered thinking mentor trainer. I am a Charting the Life course ambassador, and I'm also a sibling. And that's my identity because I do belong to groups that are defined by those parameters. So help people identify their culture, okay? So you identified what's important to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, those are the details you're looking for when you're having conversations with people. And part of our work to be person-centered is to develop those soft skills, how to get information from people. The third section on the one page is called the How to Best Support Me. Now, this is not a description of needs, but this is what you want other people to do to support you. So one woman who has a job and wrote a one page for her employer says, when you teach me something new, tell me, show me, watch me, and then tell me how I'm doing. It could be something like follow the behavior support guidelines. It could be something like don't tell me what to do, give me at least 2 choices. It could be remind me to wear headphones in a noisy place. Don't talk to me like I'm a child. That's what you want other people to do. Now, you know what the deficit is. The first one, she can't follow multi-step directions. She does better when she sees. Okay, she's a visual learner. Don't tell me what to do, give me at least 2 choices. This person does not like to be told, they like to have control. Duh, so do we all. Remind me to wear headphones. If we wrote the deficit, it might be they have sensitivity to noise. However, if I'm supporting that person, I don't know what to do. But if you tell me, remind him to wear headphones, all of a sudden I know what to do. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms in a minute. I want you to just practice using the parts of the one page to introduce yourself. So I want, obviously, tell people your name and your role, you know, but share with people 1 or 2 things that your coworkers or your family likes or loves about you. What's important to you at work? And how can others support you? So let me give you an example of what's important to you at work. What was important to me at work was to have the first half hour to organize my thoughts. And organize my to-do list, answer my email, answer my voicemail. What was important to me at work was to be on time. I told you yesterday I wasn't on a meeting call at the time it started, and at 9:01 I was getting a text. Are you gonna join us? Oh my gosh. I think Tracy even said to me she had called the police to come to my house because I'm usually early. It's a joke, but you see just what's important to me. How can others support me? Ask me if it's a good time before you interrupt me. Don't talk to me if you see my purse and my laptop on my shoulder, because that means I haven't even made it to my desk. Okay, let me get there first before you talk to me. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms. Tracy, can you put them in breakouts of 4 each? and then give them 5 minutes. So people, you don't need more than a minute to introduce yourself. And we'll see you in 5. Thank you, Tracy. I should have given you a heads up.
You did. You said we were going to breakout rooms. I had them set. I was just looking for the number, and as soon as you said them, we got it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have done that. You're
Oh,
right.
it's all good. It's all good. Only took me a second.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Up. Up. People are coming back. People are going. What's happening here?
So Shelly hasn't joined. Looks like they have invitations. They're just maybe not going yet. There we go.
Okay. Good. Good. Good.
Susan, did you get stuck or got kicked back? I can't hear you. Okay, let me move you guys to a different room. And then I'm going to move you back. So bear with me. I'm not going to move them back. They're just going to have 6 people in their room. Only
That's
people are
good.
talking. So
Yeah, that's fine. What are you gonna do?
these are a couple names, just so you know, I've got them written down.
Okay. You are good.
So I just got an email from one of the ladies that helps me with aspirations group. September 12th, the SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act was introduced. And it's talking about eliminating that $2,000 limit to receive benefits.
Woo!
That's
Good.
Office of Jared Brown, JD Vance, Troy Balderson, and Jim Jordan. I gotta get that on FRNO. Maybe that might be worth sending in an email to people. That's really important.
That is critical. Yeah, I hope this person who sent me a text in Greek is not expecting me to answer it in Greek. Because I don't have the Greek alphabet on my.
Right, good luck with that.
It just cracks me up. He's funny.
I'm closing them up. They'll be back in a minute.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Be back. Nice to dust off my skills and do this again yesterday.
That's funny.
Nice to see folks talking.
Good, 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 good. Okay, people are coming back. We'll give people a minute to come back. There we go.
Looks like we only have about 15 more seconds.
Okay, thanks, Tracy.
Okay, the rooms are closed. They should be popping back momentarily.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back. Make sure you're on mute. Thank you for participating. I just wanted you to have an opportunity to apply that principle, those concepts to yourself. So whenever you develop a one-page person-centered description, remember, what is the purpose? So somebody in chat talked about, how do I support someone at the end of their life? Well, developing a one-page may be a way to introduce them if they cannot share that information to their staff, to hospice, if they have hospice supports, you know, talking about who they are as a person, what people love about them, what's important to them. It may be to be positioned in a certain way. It may be to have certain music. When my mother was at the end of her life and had hospice supports, one day the hospice social worker walked in the room and I had put Greek music from YouTube on my phone, and my mother was tapping. My mother was not talking at this point, but she was tapping her hand and moving her foot. And the social worker went, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, she's responding, you know, what music is that? And I was like, "Whoa, it's YouTube." It's, you know, and she was like, "Oh my God, what is it? I'm going to find it right now. And I'm going to put it on my, my phone so that I can," or her iPad. No, it was her phone. So she said, "So I can at least play it when I come. Maybe she'll respond a little bit better." So, you know, certain foods, maybe they only, I know when my aunt was dying, all she wanted was Greek chicken soup, chicken rice soup. So what is it that you want people to know so they can provide that best support? Please know that people can have several one pages for different environments. So perhaps they have one for medical appointments, perhaps for employment, perhaps for a school. Those of you working with kids in transition, part of that transition process is helping students identify their accommodations. That is what that section of how to best support me is. You know, show me, teach me, use large print, make a video for me, whatever it is to enhance their ability to be successful. So I'm going to show you some one pages. I will tell you right now, I don't think any of them are on the template. This is my brother's. You see a picture of him in a car, a convertible, because Nick loved cars. Oh, yes, Pedro, for her husband. Yes, for the medical, the IEP team. Absolutely. People can have multiple ones because you want them to be relevant to whoever's reading it. So this is a general one. Please don't ever use the pronoun I, me, my, unless the person says it, or else we're committing libel. Okay. So under great things, Nick was ornery. Important too, I tried to capture people, relationships, things to do, places to go, culture, things to have. How to best support. People did not have to read his multi-page ISP. Here's how you feed me. Here's, I can hear and understand you. Don't yell. Don't use a parent voice. Here's how to put me in bed. Okay. Very simple. Bullets. Very easy to read. One page. People will read one page. Tracy will share the PowerPoint link. Here's one for Maxwell. Here's one when he's 3 months old. It was written for the daycare provider when mom went back to work and said, nobody can take care of him like me. And she's right, but she wrote a 1-page. Now Max is a toddler. Now he's going to go to preschool. So now we wrote a different one. This is for Liam. It's only for medical appointments. Liam is visually impaired as well as hearing impaired. And so there are things like, let him touch the stethoscope before you use it. If you're going to give him a shot, rub his arm so he knows where it's going to be. Here's one for Tyler. This is for school, but look, everybody knows how to talk to Tyler, how to start conversation with Tyler. Just talk about dinosaurs. Here's one that Elizabeth Kate wrote. The guru of person-centered thinking, Michael Small, saw this and said, Elizabeth, it's hard to read your font and your colors. And her response was, this is my 1-page. I'll make it the way I want. So she used the font she liked. She used the colors. I say good for her. This is for Sophia. And she was in a nursing home recovering. So what's important to her? Not having scary hospital bed hair, okay? How to support her. Before you leave the room, make sure I have everything in my lap that I want, my security system. Again, I can't give you a checklist. This is individualized. So we are respecting people's culture, their identity, and what's important to them. Here's another example from the person-centered thinking community. This is one that somebody wrote about their grandmother, but what's important to her, I love it. Having a little pour before bed, rum and tea. How many times have people said, oh, they can't have that, they have medication? You know what? Maybe they can. And if it's important to them, if any of you have supported family members at the end of their life, my mother at one point just wanted ice cream. So did my partner. And I was like, you can have ice cream anytime you want it, I don't care. We have learned that it's really important to have a 1-page when people are hospitalized. It's 1 page, it's simple. I tell families, put it above, and staff, make several copies, tape one above the bed, put it in a plastic sheet protector, put it above the bed. Do not give it to the nurses to put in the file because it'll never be seen. But if you put it right there, anybody who walks in that room sees that 1 page. If it's for hospital, now you're going to write what's needed to help that person feel safe and secure in the hospital, having their cell phone, maybe seeing the chaplain, maybe having their comfort items. How to best support, how to best support them. How to give them, make sure they have that call button if they can use it. How they convey pain, telling them what's happening. And here's one for my brother when he was hospitalized. Again, we learned these the hard way, what we needed to put down in writing. First time I wrote it, I gave it to the nurse. It went in his file, never got seen. So that's why I say tape it above the bed. How to feed him. Nick used a laptop with voice output. He couldn't use it when he was in the hospital. So ask me yes, no questions. I cannot remove my eyebrows. Everybody may not be able to answer yes, no. I knew that Nick gave reliable yes, no responses, and I would bet my license on it. So you cannot look at my brothers and say, oh, I got to write that. It's got to be individualized. Here are some others, and then I'm going to ask Tracy to share her daughter's story. So again, Sam, call his daughters. There's a picture of them. Distract him with conversation about feeding birds or growing plants. Here's Martin. Martin has a dual diagnosis, IDD and mental health. Make sure his phone is charged. If he's upset, ask him if he wants to talk to Mario. And there's his phone number right there, easy to see. For Jim, he wrote he said, I'm a smoker. I may need a nicotine patch. If I get down in the dumps, remind me of all the great things I've done. And now I'm going to ask Tracy if she'll share Tara's, her daughter's, hospital tale.
Sure will. Thank you, Barb. So my daughter is a nurse here at a local hospital. She works in a PCU unit, which is just a step down from ICU. And she had a woman come up to her floor, and she was a 40-year-old nonverbal autistic woman. She had taken a fall from standing, and she had knocked out all of her front teeth. She'd broken her nose and broken her eye socket. Her parents were 2 hours away, and the caregiver who was there with her was exhausted because, of course, as things would have to happen, this happened at the very end of the caregiver shift. And this kind soul had stuck with her through the whole emergency room process up to getting to her room. She came up from the ER, and my daughter walked in the room, and she saw this. The woman had been given no real pain meds. She'd been given a large dose of ketamine when she first got there to control her behaviors, which, let me tell you, if I was in that kind of pain, I'd be behaving too, most likely, in some sort of way. She had been zipped into a confining bed that she was struggling to get out of. She was not cleaned up at all, blood everywhere, and she had absolutely no clothing on. At the bottom of the bed that they wheeled her up in was a 3-ring binder, and that 3-ring binder was full of instructions on how to take care of her. But of course, that had not been opened in the emergency room. They did not have the opportunity to look through a whole binder full of instructions. And my daughter also knew that the nursing staff were not going to have time to read a 2 or 3 inch thick 3-ring binder full of information. So she takes one look at this, and she comes and calls me, and she says, Mom, you've got something. I know you've got something with that charting the life course stuff that can help me. And I said, I do. And I sent her a 1-page person-centered description, and I walked her through it. My daughter is a sibling. She grabbed this very intuitively based on her life experience, and 5 minutes down and dirty worth of instructions since she was back in that room. And she was talking with that patient and that caregiver. And here's how it went. First and foremost, let's get her some pain meds. And she said, tell me about how she expresses pain. And the caregiver knew. She knew her well. She told her, why hadn't she been given pain meds before, we asked? Because she was nonverbal. And somebody said, what's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? And she couldn't answer, and nobody pulled out the visual chart. So they got that. They learned how she expressed pain, wrote it down on a 1-page form. They got her pain meds. With pain meds, they were able to get her cleaned up. Next question. Can we give her some dignity? Why is she naked? Answer was, she's already in all that pain. They had put her in a hospital gown, and as she was sort of squirming around in that bed, the gown kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So it kept coming off. She could not deal with one more thing. So my daughter asked the caregiver, well, what does she normally wear at home? Well, she wears sweatpants and a sweatshirt most of the time. Great. My daughter went and got her scrubs, very similar to sweatpants, made her happy. And it just so happened that the provider on the way out the door grabbed a sweatshirt. She said, great, let's get that on her. She doesn't have to wear a hospital gown. There's no need. So now she's feeling better there. Next thing is, why is she trying to get out of this bed? What is happening? Caregiver says, well, she knows she's in the hospital when she's in a bed. She doesn't normally sleep in a bed. So my daughter's question was, where does she sleep at home? She's more comfortable in a recliner. Well, guess what? Out went that bed, and in came the recliners that they have all over the hospital, made just for those purposes of sleeping. So there was that. And then that was all of them. And then they went on to talk about who she was. She talked to the caregiver. She talked to her. As I said, she is nonverbal, but Barb mentioned, because you're nonverbal doesn't mean you can't communicate. She could nod. She didn't have her device with her, but there were ways that she could. So, what do people like and admire about her? They wrote it down. when they came to like what's important to her. We're talking about in the hospital. What's important to you right now? What does she want on the TV? Does she want the BERT team to come in and give her things to do like coloring and whatnot? And then how to best support her with the things that they just talked about. They wrote it all down. They put it on the one page, and they did tape it on the wall above her bed. And here is what happened. First of all, that patient was in so much better shape. She was more cared for and more comfortable. That caregiver, bless her heart, she felt like she could step out of the room for a minute. She was afraid to leave. So now she felt like, "Ooh, I can go get a cup of coffee. I can go to the bathroom." Yay. The nursing staff, they were so thrilled to have this information, because telling the nursing staff that someone is a 40-year-old nonverbal autistic really doesn't tell them anything about who they are as a person. They loved it. And then finally, the doctors who rounded the next morning, one of the residents stood there and read it, and he said, "What is this?" And they told him what it was. And he said, "Why don't we have this on everyone?" He said, everything I need to know medically, that's in the chart, but this is who these patients are." So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I will tell you that the provider who was with the patient as they went all through this reached out to us later and said, "Hey, can anybody have those forms and use them, or are they protected or whatnot?" I said, "Oh no, anybody can use them." And she asked me to send her some, and I did. And now they have done a one-page person-centered description for hospitalization for everybody that provider group works with, because it just made such a difference in their patients' lives.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank
Welcome.
you. So again, the one page is written for a purpose. It is not the intro page from the OISP, because that does not go to the hospital. Okay. And it's not written for that purpose. But think about the power of that one page. You usually write it because it's a way to introduce people. It's a summary. It helps people with self-esteem, like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you thought that about me." And it can help transition students and others identify accommodations. So a person should, you develop it because someone is going to go into a new environment or going to be around new people, a new classroom, a club. One mother wrote it because her son was going to start going to a youth group at church. One sibling wrote it because her brother was going to go on a plane trip for the first time alone. He was a teenager, and he was going to fly to visit their father out of state. And she wrote it for the flight attendants. Her brother is on the spectrum, and she didn't want the flight attendants to be like, "Oh God, what do we do with somebody with autism on a plane? How do we support?" And so she wrote, remind him to wear his headphones, remind him to, if he gets upset, tell him to pull out his tablet, and whatever it was. But also she described what a great guy he was. And she wanted the flight to go well for her brother, but also the flight attendants and also the rest of the plane. So people have written them for hospitalizations, for nursing home, when they're in a nursing home, healthcare appointments. One educator said, one of my students is transferring to another school. I think I'm going to talk to him and his family about writing one so that they can, the new school will know a little bit about him. Some providers, day and residential, as well as schools, have stapled the one page to the emergency medical form, so that if someone has to go to the hospital, or, if EMT is called, they get the medical, the demographics, but also a little bit about who that person is. What other examples? The examples are endless. One person receiving supports has framed hers and put it on the wall, and tells when a new staff from the provider agency comes into her apartment to help her, she tells them, don't even talk to me till you read my one page. How empowering is that? It's one page. We're going to take a break in about 2-3 minutes. So I've just looked at my watch. Our trajectory, what we want to see related to the one page, is that it's human-centric. It talks about who the person is, not their deficits, not their disability, not what made them eligible for services. It talks about qualities. It talks about what other people need to do to make sure that person is comfortable, respected, valued. People can have many and include a photo. It's just when you see the person, you're more likely to develop a connection and see who that human being is. It's not demographic. It's not written for the person. It's written with the person and the people who know them the best. So we have a poll. Quickly, we'll ask you just to think about how can a one page be used? Answer the poll. And then what I want you, oh, you guys are too good. I will tell you that families and people with lived experience have said, you know, it's so much easier when someone says, tell me about, to just hand them the piece of paper and say, here, and they can either read it or just hand it over. And the correct answer is all of the above. So it can be used for all purposes. What I want you to do, and then we'll take a 5-minute break. Type in chat how you think you might use a one page in the next month. So, and I want you to think of somebody specific, like, oh my gosh, I'm working with somebody who's going to be interviewing providers, or I'm working with someone who's looking for a job. It would be great to write one to introduce to potential employers or use as part of their resume. Or maybe you're working with someone who typically has hospitalizations, or maybe you're working with someone who has difficulties in a certain environment. But type in chat how you would think you might use a one page in the next month. I want you to think very, very specifically. Oh, Pedro, thank you for sharing that. Tracy's story sounds like something that your sister experienced. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Oh, for a person who just lost their vision. Oh, that's awesome, Pedro. A staff member, I think it was an SSA, is losing his hearing. And so he wrote a one page to introduce himself to people on his caseload and explaining what they need to do to support him as he's losing, I think it was his hearing. Oh, I posted it on Facebook and now I forget. Good page. Somebody who's looking for a provider. Good, good, good. Daughter has a new teacher in her preschool class. Oh, absolutely, Jill. Sister-in-law with DD is having surgery. Oh my God, yes, Susan. Introduction to a new SSA. How to work with one of my individuals who has TBI. I have a couple, a person with significant behavior needs. We're trying to get adult day services for them, want to make it for them so it'll be easier to explain their needs, change from residential to shared living. You wrote one for yourself for your new job. Some supervisors have asked their staff to develop their one page. Tell me how I can support you. Awesome examples. Would like to have one to start document. Okay. The template is on. We sent it to you, but you can just do a Word doc. So why don't we take a 5-minute break? We'll see you at 10:45 at 6 minutes. And thank you so much for typing in chat. Those are awesome ideas. I love it. I'm going to go on mute, Tracy.
Okay.
Tracy, we're seeing your email. There you go. Oops, okay. Whoops. All right. Welcome back.
Barb,
Yes.
pages into the chat again and the guidance page, because I saw someone was asking for them.
Oh, good, good, good. The guidance page. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I lost my PowerPoint. So thank you. Thank you for taking a break. Thank you for all of your information that and your ideas. They are phenomenal. And oh my goodness, how did I lose my PowerPoint from my screen? Okay, so let me share. And I apologize. Give me just a minute. I just didn't think I was going to lose it. Oh dear. Oh, I know why. Okay. All right. Let's do slideshow. Okay. So you typed in chat. Thank you for all your ideas. Please remember that if you feel that somebody could benefit, start the one page, have the conversation, and then leave them the paper and have them think about it. But don't just give it to people, because we want to make sure that what people share is really what we're looking for, and we keep the fidelity of what should be on a one page. So part of your planning process, you're supposed to ask what people's good life is, what their outcomes are, what their vision is. So again, I don't want it to just be jargon. So what is a good life? A good life is that you have dreams. You know, you all have dreams, whether it was to buy a house, to make sure your kids are successful, to go on vacation, to pay off debt, to retire. You have a dream. It may not be measurable, because our dreams and our vision of what we want may not be measurable. But the reason we want to know good life and vision or dreams is so we can identify how we can help people move towards that good life. What goals can we work on with them to help them have that good life? What services and supports will help them have that good life? A good life is that we have people who believe in us, that we have what's important to us, which is why it's so critical that we know what's important to people, that we're valued. You know, people don't leave jobs because of the money. They leave because they don't feel valued or respected. A good life is that we have more good days than bad, which gives us another conversation starter. Tell me what makes a good day. Tell me what makes a bad day. That we feel healthy and safe and we have control. So let's talk about, just quickly, my brother. Did he have a good life? When I ask myself, did I support my brother to have a good life? Well, he had two dreams, many dreams, but one was to go to Disney by himself without anybody else with a disability. So that's the picture in the lower right-hand corner at the Cleveland Hopkins Airport. You see that was 27 years ago. His provider said, we're person-centered. We can help him work on this. The picture above was when he was about 16. Of course, what happens when you're 16? When I was 16, I got a driver's license. When Jim was 16, he got a driver's license. When Nick was 16, he said, I want to drive. And Jim and I was like, are you kidding me? That's not going to happen. Oh, shame on me, right? Jim was like, yes, he can. I'm like, what are you talking about? So Jim said, let's pull the car out. One day when my mother was at work, we pulled the car out. We put Nick in our Volkswagen Beetle. We put one hand on the steering wheel. We tried to put the other hand on the gear shift. Wouldn't stay. His contractures, his arm went up. We put the keys in the ignition. Look at that. Jim said if he's going to drive, he's got to wear cool sunglasses. So he took his sunglasses off and put them on Nick, and we took pictures. Had them developed. This is before digital. Showed them to my mother. Oh my gosh, did I get yelled at? What's the matter with you? You're the oldest. What did you let your brother drive for? Mom, the car did not move. He is sitting in a parked car in the backyard. But this was his dream. He wanted to drive. The point I want to make is he did not want to have the vehicle move. He wanted the status of the pictures of him driving. When he was dying, he said, sis, I want to show staff the pictures of me driving. So the car never moved, but it gave him status. So I love the picture. I love it, love it, love it. Did he have what was important to him? Absolutely. Was he respected? Absolutely. And when he wasn't, he let people know. So one time when he was in the hospital, he had a roommate in the hospital who appeared to me to also have developmental disabilities. I never saw anybody visit this young man. I never heard the man talk, but I would always greet him and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I get a call from the nurse, the director of nursing at the hospital. Are you aware that your brother is filing a complaint? No, I'm not. He said that nursing staff walked in the room and said, we don't have to do anything for these two tards. And my brother wrote a letter to the director of nursing. So yeah, he was respected and valued. And if he wasn't, he let people know. And did he have control over decisions affecting his life? Yes, he did, including at the end of his life. I love this picture. I don't know if you know Chris, if you've heard of Chris Nikic, but he is the first person with Down syndrome to successfully complete an Ironman competition. So I have typed what Ironman is, but what I love is over here on the left. I saw an ESPN special about him, and he had this big whiteboard in his house where he would write every day how he was training and what he could eat. But on the bottom, he had a section that said, my dreams. And look at his dreams: buy my own car, buy my own house, get a smoking hot blonde wife from Minnesota, Chris was living in Florida at the time with his parents. I don't know where he lives now. Have my own money to take care of my family and become a famous public speaker. I love that his parents encouraged him to write his dreams down. So we want people to think about what their dreams are, what their trajectory is, their vision. And these are themes of what people want and what people don't want. But when we talk to people, we don't want to just hear friends and family. We want the details. What does that mean? What does it look like? How will we know that you are having your good life? This is an exploring trajectory. I like using this when I first start talking to people and meeting them. What do you want in your life? What don't you want? It is just as important to ask people what they don't want as it is to ask them what they want. Generally, the themes for self-advocates, what I want: to have my own place, to have a job, to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and to have money to go on vacation. What I don't want, the number one answer is drama. And I have to ask them, what does drama mean to you? Because it means something different to everybody. You all know that in person-centered planning, you make 3 promises. One is to listen and understand what the person means, not what you think, to act on what you hear, and to be honest. For families, what they want is their loved one to be happy, to have friends, to be respected. What they don't want is for them to be taken advantage of. So type in chat, what is your good life? What will it look like? How will you know you are having your good life? And so good life, remember, is you have what's important to you. You have a dream. You know, one of my good life is that I retired, but that I can still share my passion about supporting people and families. So what is your good life? And I'm not asking you goals. I'm asking you not about what's measurable, but what will your good life look like? And that's what we need to get from people. What does a good life look like? Too often we have taught them to tell us goals. I want to be independent. I want a job in the community, as opposed to where. Okay, those are system goals that we've taught them. And so when someone says, I want a job in the community, I ask them, what kind of job do you want? What do you want to be doing? Travel around the world. Oh, I will go with you. No, I love it. I love it. So if someone says, I want to travel around the world, we would say, wow, that's awesome. Let's see what we can do to help you. Well, one of the things I'm thinking of is you need money to travel. Do you have a job? You know, that's the hook. That's why you get a job, because you want to do something, not worry about bills every month. Okay, so if we were supporting you, Penny, we might say, look, what we can help you do is maybe set up a budget. That's the service. Spending valuable time with people that mean the most to me. Okay, maybe we can help you connect and see those people. Retire and enjoy enough time with my husband and grandkids. So what I want you to think about is, nobody's listing a Medicaid service. But what our job is, you told me this, now how can we support you to do this? Buy more land to grow my homestead. Paige, you're like the 3rd person that said that in the last couple of weeks. Not exactly the same words, but increase the land I have, you know, buy more land. I love it. So nice. Very nice. Thank you, everybody. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So when we're having conversations, also think about what you want to avoid, and you can type that. It's not necessarily the opposite of what you want. It could be, you know, you don't want to get ill. You want to, you know, you don't want to be poor, which is kind of the opposite, but I'm going to keep moving. You can type in chat. I appreciate it. Drama, stress, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would ask you, what does drama mean to you? Because it means something different to everybody. Remember, 3 promises: listen to hear and understand, act on what you hear, and be honest. Toxic relationships. Okay. Awesome. So I hate the word independent, but I love what Judy Heumann, who is a very prominent disability rights advocate who passed away earlier this year. This is how she defined independent living. Independent living is not doing things by yourself. It's being in control of how things are done. And that is not the view we take. We think that if someone has to be independent, they have to do everything themselves. And I don't want to ask you how many of you, when you went away to college, did your own laundry, or did you gift your parents, your mother, when you came home? Did you cook, or did you make ramen? So this is a planning trajectory. It helps, again, what do you want? What don't you want? But as you're getting more into the depth of planning, you might look at past experiences. So you want to travel the world. What have you done in the past that's helping you get there? Well, I save. I have an account that's just set aside to travel. I've traveled in the past, so I know how to pack. I know how to plan. What have you done in the past that is took you towards what you didn't want? And then in the middle, what do you need to do next? So you get the vision, you get the history, and you get the next steps. Families who have used this will fill out the vision of what they want and don't want. They'll start thinking about, geez, what have we done in the past to help? What didn't work? And then they'll go to the team and say, so how can you help us move forward? And I've heard of families doing this with their IEP team and also with their ISP team. Whoops. Sorry. So I want you, I just want to make sure. During the pandemic, what did you miss that's important to you, those 8 areas? And I know we're out of the pandemic, but I'm just going to tell you that in the past month, I know about 4 friends who had COVID again and quarantined for 5 or 6 days. And so they were missing out on what was important to them. I ask you for a reason. So what did you miss during the pandemic? Yeah. And I'm gonna, if Tracy launches the poll, but I'm gonna keep moving. So if you think about your trajectory on March 1st of 2020 versus March 30th of 2020, it probably was very different. Your good life was probably not that you were planning a vacation or that you were going to go to a wedding or something important, but your good life was staying healthy, not bringing COVID into your family. What did you do what did you want to avoid? Probably getting COVID. What were your past experiences? Did you have masks? Did you have Clorox wipes? Did you know how to order online? And then what past experiences, what did you have to develop? Did you have to learn how to start Zoom? I knew how to join Zoom. I did not know how to set up Zoom. The reason I ask you this, oh my gosh, your daughter was born during the pandemic. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow. 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 I can't even imagine. Oh my gosh. Wow. So you missed all those baby experiences. The other thing I've heard from some friends of mine whose husbands died during the pandemic was they couldn't even have a funeral. They could not have a funeral in the church. They could only have 6 people attend. And so they didn't have all those rituals and the cultural traditions. The reason I ask you this is if something happens that impacts our ability to have that good life, what did we all do? We all adjusted. We said, okay, it's not going to look this way. Now we're going to have virtual meetings with our family. We're going to teach our family how to use FaceTime. We're going to have Thanksgiving or Easter or whatever, family dinners, and they're going to join us virtually. We adjusted. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is the flexibility to adjust. So talking about those personal outcomes, developing that trajectory is not done in a team meeting. That is something the person needs to do with their family, but you can start the conversation. So what do you want to do? What is important to you? We want people in early intervention to start developing a trajectory and share it as they transition out of EI and go into early childhood and school age. You can develop a trajectory for your whole life, for one domain, getting a job, changing jobs, hiring a provider, or it can be for the cycle of the plan. Here are some people with lived experience who developed a trajectory using words, cutting pictures out, and drawing. Here's another trajectory that a group of self-advocates, actually in Stark County, developed. The Post-it notes are their individual visions of what they want, what they don't want. What was powerful, I thought about this, it was a Project STIR training. When the superintendent of Stark County came in, I said, Bill, you've got to go read the trajectory of what people you support want in their life and what they don't want. And he actually shared it in his newsletter and said to staff, this is what people we support are telling us. Now, some people may look at you and tell you, I want to be more independent. I want a job in the community, because that's what we've told them to tell us. So you might have to go through those 6 domains. They're on the OISP. They are all interrelated. Where we work may determine where we live, or vice versa. Where we live may determine where we work. Where we live might impact where we participate our spiritual practices, whether it's going to a faith-based community or yoga or any other activity or community. So they're all interrelated. And so we may have to have conversations with people and help them think broadly about what's a good life, thinking across those 6 domains. I love the vision tool. You can find it on lifecoursetools.com under library, and then go to foundational tools and person-centered. It can be filled out by the person, because you see name of person completing. It could be, I completed Barb on behalf of Barb, or it could be Barb completing it on behalf of Nick. We value the different perspectives. So I've often had the family, the parents fill it out on behalf of their loved one, as well as the person on behalf of themselves. And one time I had mom and dad do it separately, because when I met with them, they were not on the same page. And so I said, here, you could fill it out separately. And it's okay. I've had siblings fill it out for their brother or sister, because what is their vision? I love this tool because in the first column is the icon. In the second column is the domain and the definition. So helping people think, what do you want to do during the day? What kind of job do you want to do? Do you want to volunteer? The third column, people can actually write or draw. And the fourth column, I don't get so hyper about, but it's priority. Is it high, medium, low? Is it a priority? Maybe it's not a priority. Now, on the OISP, you have to identify important 2, important 4, I think outcome and support for every one of these domain areas. What I tell professionals and families is they may not have a vision for every domain, and that's okay. And if they don't have one right now. I was working with a mom of her child was either 6 or 7, young. And I said, what's your outcome for your child? What do you see them doing during the day? And sometimes I ask parents to envision far ahead so that we can help them work towards that vision. And she said, Barb, he was in the hospital for 3 months last year. All I want is for him to stay out of the hospital, to be healthy and safe. I said, then that's your vision. I don't even want to talk about these other areas. That's okay. I had another mother of a 7-year-old say, whoa. She said, Barb, I never thought of employment for my 7-year-old. She goes, but I'm a single mom. In my family, it is the culture in our family that all adults work. She said, I make sure he has men, from our family as role models. But she said, starting now, I'm going to put down that he will have a job he likes and he will earn money. And I'm going to tell my IEP team, how are you helping him work towards that outcome? So the vision tool helps people think broadly and think beyond system goals. Now you may think, okay, but why are you talking to a mom of a 7-year-old about employment? Aha! I think we sent you this book. It's also on lifecoursetools.com under library, under exploring life stages. In charting the life course, we also believe in anticipatory guidance. We've got to help people start thinking about what happens next. I am sure all of you, whether you are 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from retirement, are thinking about your retirement and are starting to think about planning. What's my retirement going to be? What might I get every month? Should I contribute to deferred comp? Should I open an IRA? Maybe I better pay off my bills. Whatever it is, you have that anticipatory guidance. You're thinking ahead. This booklet helps you identify conversation starters and also help people think about the next life stage. So every domain has a 2-page spread. This is daily life and employment. And there are 6 life stages from prenatal and infancy all the way up to aging. Under each life stage are things to consider. So with young children, are we giving them the opportunity to make choices and decisions? Are we helping them learn through their mistakes? All of those are skills they need when they have a job. Are we teaching them how to communicate their needs, their ideas? Are you asking them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Are you giving them chores or responsibility, not only at home, but in school? So it gives you questions to ask, considerations, but it also gives, if you are a provider, whether you're a teacher or a day provider, it gives you things to think about. Oh, maybe we should be discussing these things, or maybe I need to start giving people opportunities. There are also these quick guides or 4-pagers. They are also available on lifecoursetools.com under Life Course Library, under Exploring Stages. Even though there are 6 life stages that we talk about, there are only 5 quick guides. We don't have one for infancy. Okay, we start with early childhood, school age, transition, adulthood, aging. They're 4 pages long. The first page defines the life stage. I chose adulthood because most SSAs work with mostly adults. So anyway, adulthood, the icon, the definition. Second page covers 3 of the life stages and identifies icon, life domain, definition, and things to consider. So this is a guide that you can give to families. Just so you know, when we're going to talk during the IEP or ISP, here are some things we're going to be talking about. Here's what the domains mean. Here's what you can think about as we discuss. Page 3, the other 3 domains. Page 4, what services and supports to start thinking about that might help you during this life stage? And then what help might the family need? So again, these 4-pagers are available on lifecoursetools.com. You can download them. They're free. You can email them to people. You can print them out and give them to people if that's their best learning style or way to receive information. You can also use them to help you guide your conversations. So the trajectory, what we want to see, our vision, what we want to see is that people and families can organize and write down their thoughts about what a good life is. That you as staff can start that conversation, can start recording on the form and say, here's what I heard you say. I'm going to give it to you. I want you to think about it a little bit more. Add, take away if you don't like what's there, if you change your mind. And it should, what we don't want to see is that it's done in a team meeting. This is really something that the person and the family need to think about, talk about in their own time without feeling pressured. And it's not done by the team, because we're talking about the vision for the person's life, not what the team wants. The team, members of the team can fill out their own vision tool and share it. But the trajectory of a good life is done by the person and the family. So let me ask Tracy to launch this poll question. Select all that apply. And I just want to say again, I really appreciate your participation. If I were doing this in person, obviously I would not use a poll, but we'd have a conversation or I'd have you answer out loud. But we want you to participate so for your CEUs. So the correct answer is it is not developed by a team. It does help the person and the family identify their good life as well as what they want to avoid. It helps people organize their information and think about, what have I done in the past that helped? What has happened in the past that didn't help? And it helps guide planning. So the correct answer is all of them. Okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great. The third tool on that portfolio is the integrated support star. You use this to brainstorm possible supports. So you pick an outcome and you put it in the middle in the white star. And then you look at the 5 areas. I always tell people start with personal strengths and assets because we want people to realize this is a strengths-based approach. You bring strengths to the table. So let me go through the 5 areas. Before I go through the 5 areas, let me just remind you about the term natural supports. I am sharing the definition from Disability Rights Ohio. It supports that people, family, or the community provide for free. Also, the Medicaid agency often assumes incorrectly that family that live with the person will provide natural support. Federal law says that natural supports must be provided voluntarily. No one should be forced to provide natural support, and individuals who receive services have a choice about whether they want to receive natural support from a particular person. I will tell you as a family member, when, well, I'll tell you a story. My partner of over 30 years needed supports from the aging system. And when the aging system came into my home and started talking to the 2 of us, they said, "Oh, you're his natural support." And I cringed. I thought, how dare you assume anything, number one. How dare you impose that role on me, because now you have expectations of me. And so they said, "You're his natural support." And my response was, "No, I'm his lover." And that stopped that conversation. So you can also use the split star, which helps us identify what supports does someone currently have related to their outcome or concern that's in the middle, and what strengths or assets do we need to build on. Again, the purpose of the star is to problem solve, brainstorm, map resources, plan, and then review. Did we develop those resources? So let's look at the star. We all have to be in line with the CMS, or Centers for Medicare and Medicaid settings rule, which says we have to help people be have lives they want and have full access to their community. So we want the person to be supported in the context of their family, chosen or biological, in their community. And you see these stars. We want them to have integrated supports, not just from the service system. So let's go through each of the areas. So I told you my brother Nick wanted to go to Disney, and all of us, everybody was like, "Oh, we know companies that will take people on vacation." My brother's personal strengths was that he had a vision. He said, "I want to go to Disney." And when they said there are companies that take groups of people, he said, "I don't want to go with anybody else. I want to go by myself." His strengths, he could articulate his goal. He knew how to plan. He knew he needed to save money. He knew where he wanted to go. Relationships. Who could help him that were not getting paid? These are unpaid relationships. So I always say, think about people with ICE. Who has information? Maybe who has connections? And who has experience? Well, the minute Nick told people, "I want to go to Disney World," all of these people that we knew started telling us, "Oh, I'm going this year. What do you want to know? I'll look out for stuff." Friends, family, even acquaintances, because people we knew were connecting us to other people that we just barely knew, if we knew them at all. So all of a sudden, people were like, wait a minute, I know a travel agent. Do you want a travel agent? I can connect you. Oh. So people who have information, people who have connections, people who have experience. And don't just put friends and family here. If you're brainstorming with someone, get names. Who can help you? Technology. Nick had a laptop, so he knew how to use a laptop. He knew how to search. He had a power chair. All of a sudden, we had to think about, how is that power chair going to go on an airplane? He used a laptop with voice output to communicate. Okay, what are we going to do about that laptop? He used a CPAP machine. What are we going to do? And so we had to have conversations about all that technology. How do we get a power chair that costs more than my vehicle safely to Florida? I didn't even think about that, to tell you the truth. We decided the laptop was not going to go. The caregivers that were being paid, that he was supporting to take care of him, said we have other ways to communicate with him. And Nick was good with that. Okay, we're not going to take the laptop. Community resources. Where could Nick go? Where anybody can go. Community resources are places that anybody can go. He could have gone to the library. He could have gotten books on Disney. I don't know. He could have maybe looked at videos. I don't know. He could have asked the librarian. Okay. He could have gone to a travel agent. He could have gone. A lot of communities have the adult programs where they have planning a trip. He could have gone to one of those. I don't know. Eligibility specific supports. Well, the one thing that I had never thought of was that power chair is going to go on an airplane. And his physical therapist said, if anything happens to that chair, it is covered by Ohio Medicaid. But if he's in Florida, we got to find out if Ohio Medicaid, if the provider we work with has a relationship with anybody in Florida. I had never even thought about that. She did some research. I will tell you the chair was damaged by the airlines, but it was, Nick agreed to have the caregivers operate the chair because he could no longer operate the joystick because they bent it. But the provider said, I can take care of it. I can use it. Nick's okay. He said, I can do it. I said, great. I talked to the airlines. I talked to the manager of the Hopkins and Orlando airport. And they said, when you get back to Cleveland, when he lands, go to baggage claim and make a claim. We'll pay for the repairs, or the airlines will pay for the repairs. So stuff I never even thought of. Ah, cool. You have a friend who works at Disney. Awesome. How come I didn't know you that long ago? No, only kidding. I also shared this chart with you. So on the right-hand side, you see the domains. Across the top, you see the points of the star, starting with personal strengths, ending with eligibility. And here are suggestions to think about. So technology, don't just say a smartphone or a tablet, but what apps, what programs? You know, when you're teaching someone a job, can we videotape how the job is to be done so they can watch it on their tablet as a prompt? Can we set reminders? Can they use the GPS? Can they use relaxation apps? So think broadly and specifically. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms, maybe 8 minutes. And I want you to pick a goal that we've heard from people, or maybe one goal that somebody you work with has. I want you to focus on, I want you to start with personal strengths. If somebody wants to write a book about their story, what personal goals that people have shared or a vision of their good life. And it's just been so much fun when we brainstorm the possibilities. One of the things that I've seen too is that this really is beneficial when you work on the integrated support star in a group, because somebody may know a resource that somebody else does not know. And so I've even worked with teams or with whole SSA departments, and we've brainstormed. Somebody's come and said, I'm working with somebody who wants to do this, and I have no clue what's available. So it's a way to brainstorm in your staff meetings, in your team meetings, and just the excitement of finding resources that some of us never even knew about. So I hope you had fun. So some things to remember with the integrated support star. I love it, Jill. You have SSA study halls and share resources. Absolutely. You know, no one can know everything. And until you need to actually find something, you may not even be aware. So that's great. That is awesome, Jill. I love that. I always tell people, again, start with personal strengths and assets, especially if you're working with the person in the family, because they'll usually say, well, what can you do? Well, what can my provider do? What will the waiver give me? And so you say that we'll get to that. Let's start with your strengths and assets. And think big picture about strengths and assets. You know, if somebody wants to, I'm trying to think. If somebody wants to get a job or go visit friends, a strength may be that they have a driver's license. A strength may be that the family has a car they can use. So don't think narrow, think pretty broad. You end with eligibility specific, so you're helping people think about what's available, what's out there. Remember, community means that it's a resource that's available to everybody. Eligibility specific can refer not only to DD services, but you and I have eligibility specific supports. You have health insurance from your employer. That's an eligibility specific support. You have IT support. You might have IT equipment. I don't have IT support because I don't work for your county board. Okay. So we all have eligibility specific supports. I have eligibility specific supports because of my age. I have eligibility specific supports because of my culture. So don't think just DD, okay? Supervisors use this when they're brainstorming with staff. Well, we can't pay for that. Let's see what else is available. And like I say, you get better at this over time. So our trajectory for using the integrated star is we want people, family, and staff to brainstorm what's out there, what can help. You do it as a team, you start with personal strengths, you end with eligibility, and it really helps everybody learn what's available in the community. And what we don't want is that you start with eligibility. So whenever you use any of these tools or resources, please know you've got to identify why. Why am I going to use the trajectory? Why do I think the vision tool will help? Why am I going to develop a one page? There's nothing that mandates that you have to use a specific tool or that you have to use all the tools on everyone. And please, 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 if you're going to use a vision tool or a one page, explain to the person or the family why. You know, you're going to be interviewing a new provider. This might help them learn a little bit about you, and it might help you prepare for those interviews. Let's develop a one page. It's a quick way for you to introduce yourself and to tell that provider what's important to you and how they can support you. So explain it as family members. As a family member, it always made me laugh when people would come into my home with a laptop and start filling out forms and think and never offer to share it with me. And I knew what they were filling out because of the questions they were asking, but it's like, what do other people think? It's a secret. It's on my laptop and it's only for me to know. So explain it, explain why you're using something. Please know you don't have to use one tool with everyone or all the tools on one person. These are tools. Think about it as tools in your toolkit. When the need comes up, when I think I'm not getting good information, maybe this will help them think about it. You pull it out and you use it. Yes, absolutely. Penny, I'm so glad you said that. I forgot. Penny, teachers have told me they've developed, they make a one page for everybody in their classroom, put it in plastic sheet protectors, and that's the subfolder. I've also heard providers who do that. That's the subfolder. So someone coming into a house to sub, they could go to the folder and there's a one page on everybody in the house with their photos so they know who it is. I've also had people at day programs do the same thing. Use the one page, make one for everybody in the group, put it in plastic sheet protectors, and that's the subfolder. Oh, great. Thank you, Penny. I'm so glad you shared that. I tried to give you some practice today, just dabbling with some of the tools, but try using them on yourself before you use them with others. You know, so you can say, it took me a while, I had to think about it, this was difficult, you know, whatever. And please remember that if you use any of the tools with somebody, the one page, the trajectory, the integrated star, the portfolio, please give the paper to the person or the family. What families have told me, what people with lived experiences have told me is the paper gives them power, because now they can say, oh, you want to know my vision? Here it is. And it gives them courage, paper courage. Absolutely, Jill. Doing a one page for each client. So if another SSA is stepping in, they have the one page to use. The other way that a one page may be used, and I don't know how your different county boards do it, but if you are working with someone that you know, you're anticipating that they might be calling the after hours number because something may be going on in the family, even sharing a one page with the after hours. However, whoever answers the after hours. I know yes, Pedro, thank you for asking. The tools, go to lifecoursetools.com, and under library, there is a whole section with the tools in Spanish. And I'd have to go to the website to show you, and I don't know exactly where, but there is, I think it's under library, and if you look, there's a section that has all the Spanish translation.
Hey, Carol, I'm going to drop that link in the chat in just a couple moments. I'll navigate to it. And those links are all going to be uploaded to frnohio.org's website as soon as Erica comes back from vacation next week. So you can look for them after that too.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Because it's like, if I don't open the website, I can't find it. Thank you. Thank you, Pedro, for asking. So please give the paper to the person. People tell us it gives us paper power, it gives us paper courage. So I want you to think about your functions. I don't care what your job is, you do all this. And the resources that I've covered today, the 1-page, the trajectory, the vision tool, the integrated support star, the integrated support options, that's that chart, the experiences and questions booklet, which gives you all sorts of considerations for every domain across all the life stages, and the 4-pagers. And type in chat which one you think, never mind, do this. There's a poll, sorry. Which one do you think you're going to use in the, thank you, Tracy. Thank you for putting the link. Which tool or resource do you think you're going to use in the next few weeks? And don't pick more than 2. I know people want to say, I'm going to use them all. But you know what? You probably won't. So you probably, as an SSA, already have your schedule planned for the next month, because you know whose waiver is coming up and whose plan is coming up, and you know, but which ones do you really think, I'm going to use this? I'm thinking of somebody on my caseload. I think this will be helpful. Oh, the 4-pagers, good. Yeah, please share them with people. Don't start an ISP meeting and start talking about these domains without explaining them to people or giving them something that they can look at and think about. Why do we keep everything to ourselves? It's not a national security secret, okay? Let's empower people with information. You know, Tracy and I will tell you, we love the 1-page. And so we're pretty partial to the 1-page. But I also love the 4-page.
I just wanted to chime in, Barbara. I wish you would have gave that input to the state, because these ISPs, these new old ISPs are so long. And like you said, who's reading all of that?
Nobody, Deetra. They are compliance plans. They are not person-centered plans. I wish they had to, because, you know, having worked in the field for so long, part of my job was to make sure we were in line with Medicaid and rule. And so everything that is, you know, your plan should now becomes the plan has. And that's the way to assure that it's covered. I have no excuse, but I hate, as a family, you know, how many of your you know, I tell families, I tell professionals, if you're coming in my house, I ask people, how long is your ISP meeting? And they're like, oh, 2-3 hours. I tell people, professionals, if you're coming in my house for 2-3 hours, you better have a bottle of wine and some food that you're bringing in. So, you know, that's an imposition. Okay, that's my my soapbox. Thank you for answering. Thank you, Deetra, for offering. A couple of things coming up, just so you know. Yeah, I've tried, Pedro. I've tried telling them, and they've heard me say, you don't have to write something in every box, you know. They're like, whoa. But that's the way they monitor, you know. You know, what can I say? I truly believe you can write a 1-page, you can write a person-centered plan on 1 page, but that's me. So anyway, some things coming up, and Pedro, if you have any insight, let me know. We have our showcase coming up. There is a cost. It will be in Columbus, but hold the dates if you're interested. We'd love to have you attend. It's a showcase, so it is not a training. We want to showcase what people are doing. Okay, we have lots of presentations. Sign up on frnohio.org. We probably do 70 to 100 a year. So please, please, please sign up when you go to the website, and you'll get all the flyers. We have a community of practice meeting in January, and I have worked with some county boards and agencies, email. So that's how you do it. Okay. Thank you. Good question. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Have a good holiday season. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all your help.
Thank you.